All right. So at this point, I flipped my vial upside down to the side. Now I'm going to go ahead and gradually apply pressure. And remember, I'm going to use positive pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and inject roughly about 1 to 2 mLs of air into my vial, and you'll start seeing the drug slowly drip down into your syringe. Once you start seeing those drops start to slow down, then you can add, again, another 1 to 2 mLs of air. So you continue that until your syringe basically fills up with fluid. Notice that I am not blocking this critical area here. My fingers are placed a very specific way so that I don't accidentally block that part, because it should be kept open so the airflow can hit that area. Also, another area that I notice that is blocked often is this part. This part is also a very critical area, and we do not block that. So notice that I put my right hand in the front instead of in the back. Always make sure that your needle is in liquid. If your needle is not in liquid and it's in air, well, guess what? You're going to pull in air. You're not going to pull in any liquid, any actual medication. So sometimes I get students that are telling me, Ms. Raina, I'm not getting any drug instead of my syringe. So I go over and I look and I'm like, well, your needle's in air. As you can tell there, I have quite a big of an air bubble there. At this part, my syringe is fully filled. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on my syringe to get rid of those air bubbles. Air bubbles throw off your measurement, so it is very, very important that you clear your air bubbles. Again, if you remember, my measurement was 8 mLs. So from this point, I like to say what's called locking it in place, locking my measurement in place. What happens sometimes if I let go of this plunger, then your liquid will oftentimes escape through the needle because you're not holding it in place. So that can cause one of two things. You can either lose liquid, or it can bring in more liquid than you need, more medication, and so your measurement is going to be thrown off. So it's very important that you lock it in place. Again, flip it to the side. And at this point, we always want to withdraw air out. We do that because we've applied air, so pressure, into our vial. So if we don't take air out, then when you take your needle out of your vial, it's just going to squirt all over the place, and we don't want that. From here, I'm going to go ahead and clear my air bubbles again. As you can tell, I have a huge amount of air there, and then I have a huge air bubble there. I'm going to, again, clear that. Every time you clear your air bubbles, you'll notice that the liquid goes all over the place in there. When it does that, it causes medication to be trapped in this hub part here. So whenever you clear air bubbles, you want to make sure that you pull back a little bit, and you'll notice a little drop come down. Okay, if you don't do that and you just automatically push up, you'll notice that that drop will basically come out of the needle. Now I'm ready to push up and see if I have the correct measurement, which I needed 8 mLs, so perfect, it's at 8 mLs. I'm going to go ahead and uncap my needle, bring my bag towards me, but not into the 6 inches. We always want to make sure that we're working at least 6 inches into the hood. I'm going to apply pressure here. We don't tend to grab our port from here because if I go to puncture the port to inject my medication, sometimes these needles are so sharp that it'll actually end up puncturing the side of the port here, and guess who else is going to get punctured? You. So instead, we use this method here where we apply pressure, bevel up, and we inject our medication in. Take that out. Remember, whenever you're recapping any needle, we always use the scooping method to prevent any accidental punctures. From here, I pull back to whatever I injected into the bag, which was 8 mLs. I mix my IV bag. I am going to then cap my white IV port, and that basically lets others know that there's medication in my IV bag. Most medication and most IV bags are clear. So if I were to inject my medication into this clear sodium chloride solution and I forgot to cap it and this bag started to flow around the pharmacy, someone else may pick it up and may think, oh, it's just an empty NS bag. Well, it's not. Okay, so it is very important for us to cap our white IV port, and then we put our patient label on the bag always. Then I'm going to put my vial right next to the syringe, so when my pharmacist comes over to check my work, he'll know exactly, okay, he'll look at my order, and he'll say, okay, so 1,000 mLs NS, great, 1,000 mLs NS. He'll look at my calculations, 8 mLs, then he'll look at my syringe, okay, 8 mLs, and then he'll look at my vial of medication, and he'll say, okay, great, and he or she will sign off on your order. Okay, so that's why we lay everything out this way.